What's up, guys? Brian Grossman here with the Grossman's Country Life, and on today's video we're going to attempt to build a set of cedar shutters like the ones you see here at a big box store for nearly $300. We're going to try to do it for less than $50, and I think it's a realistic goal. I think we can do it, and I think they'll be just as nice as if you went to the store and picked them up. So that's the goal for this video. Stay tuned, see if we can actually make it happen. And we're going to start out by grabbing some cedar fence pickets over here and heading over to the miter saw. All right, so we're probably going to need 5 to 6 fence pickets to build this thing. I don't know exactly yet, but I do know that we need to start with 3 full-size fence pickets here for our base, because these shutters are going to be 60 inches tall by roughly 16 and a quarter, whatever they turn out, inches wide. So we'll need 3 full width pickets cut at 60 inches each. So we're going to make those cuts, then we'll dive into the trim part of it. All right, so we got those cut on the miter saw. Next step is to get these cleaned up a little bit with the orbital sander. Of course, I could run these things through the planer and clean up real nice, but I'm trying to keep this build as beginner friendly as possible, so we're not going to use the planer. I'm not going to use the joiner as much as I'd love to. We're just going to sand them down, and then I am going to run them through the table saw to clean up the edges, so hopefully we get a good connection or a good meetup between all 3 of the boards. That's the hope anyway. So anyway, let's get these things sanded. All right, we got the one side sanded. I'm not worried about sanding the back, just the side that's going to show. So now, like I said, we're going to run these through the table saw. These are about, you'll want to measure them because they vary from board to board, but they're roughly 5.5 inches wide. We're going to take about 1/8 off of each side to get them down to 5 1/4. And that's just to clean up these edges, because sometimes they're pretty rough, and we want to have a minimal gap between these boards. And this is actually pretty good, this side already. But this one has a little bit of a gap here. Of course, you can always play around with it and see if you can improve it. Yeah, that really didn't help. But anyway, we're going to run these through the table saw. Hopefully that'll minimize that gap, and we'll start getting this thing put together. All right, got those cut. Hopefully we'll have minimal gap here. All right, that looks pretty good. So what we're gonna do next, I think, is get some clamps. We're gonna flip these over further. All right, I'm kind of at a dilemma here. I actually had not originally planned to glue this up, or at least not glue the boards to each other. I was just going to put them in here to hold them where I wanted them. And this is the back. I was going to put probably 4 just kind of backing strips on them for when you eventually mount it, and just to give it support and kind of hold it in place, which I'm still going to do that part. But now I'm thinking, why not glue the boards together while you're at it, I guess. I mean, I can't really think of any negative to doing that, and it would certainly help hold it all together. So I think I've talked myself into doing that. I think I'm going to glue this up, glue these 3 boards together, and then once we get them glued together and clamped in place, then we'll put our 4 backing strips on there. They ain't much, but they're clamps. All right, guys, so I'm back. It's been a good week now since I glued this thing up. Just a lot going on between the weather and family. Just some stuff going on with family. I wasn't able to get right back to this, but that's one of the joys of, I guess being a part-time woodworker is you're always contending, or having a full-time job in woodworking, is you're always contending with other things going on. But back out here now, it's looking pretty good. I mean, the boards aren't perfect, but we're making a rustic set of shutters, so it doesn't look too bad. And now I'm gonna have to hit it with the sander. Now my daughters ran off of my sander, I guess last night. They're working on a project in their kitchen, getting the repainting their cabinets. And so they needed a sander. Called me while I was away from the house and said, hey, need your sander. I think they took one of my drills as well. And that's part of being a dad too. So I got to make do. I've got my little hand sanding block here. I'm going to start with some 80 grit just to kind of smooth out some of these seams, hopefully. And then we'll hit it with some 120 before we continue on with trimming this thing out. So that's next step. It's going to get some sandpaper on here, start sanding away at this thing. I actually might have to get a chisel and just knock down some of this glue first. But yeah, we're going to get this thing cleaned up and hopefully finished up here pretty soon. All right, got the sanding done. It's looking pretty good. It ain't perfect, but looking pretty dang good for just some rustic cedar shutters. Got a chunk there. I don't even know how that happened, but anyway, at this point, okay, we're down to the trim. So I'm gonna do 2-inch. Just judging from the photo, it looks like it's probably roughly 2-inch. I could get a little more. I could probably make this whole thing with, right now we got 3 cedar fence pickets tied up in this, one for each kind of piece of the backing here. I could probably get by with just maybe one more if I ripped them at like 1 3/4, because I could get 3 strips out of that instead of just 2. But I'm not worried about using an extra $3.50 fence picket. I want to make these things look good. And so we're going to do 2-inch strips, and it'll probably take a couple. I'm thinking we're going to end up with 5 tied into one shutter, but we'll see kind of how it all turns out. But we're going to rip some 2-inch strips to do our outside borders as well as our little cross members there. So over here to the table saw, get those strips cut, and then we'll have to figure out exactly where we need to cut links and miters and get that all laid out. really hope that wasn't too much. And I didn't record this, I don't guess, but I put a mark here on each side at 30 inches, which is, you know, half the length of these. These are 5 foot, so I put a 30-inch mark on each side, and I'm just kind of centering this piece. Now, all that leaves at this point is our two pieces, our two trim pieces like this. And so it needs to be there, up to there. Let's make that first cut, and then we'll see if it lines up on that end. All right, that looked to be about 20 degrees. We'll see. Nope. Let's see. There we go. Now we got her. So. There we go. Love it. Love it. Heck yeah. All right, one more piece to fill in here. Getting close to that finish line. And this one I'm hoping is that same, should be that same, you know, about 19.5 degree angle on this. Obviously, if you're making your own, it's going to be custom, depending on what your width ends up exactly and everything. So you're just going to have to measure it and do like I did and kind of creep up to it. But we're going to cut this 19.5, see where it goes, and then get our mark on this side. Well, all right, guys, that wraps up our build, and I think this shutter turned out amazing. I'm really, really happy with it. I think it looks great, and these would definitely look good on a house if you were going for that rustic look. Now, I haven't put any kind of finish on there. If I was going to hang these on my house, I definitely would. But the ones you buy at the big box store don't come finished as well. They come raw just like this. I did sand it, but did not finish it. But all in all, I've got 5 fence pickets and, you know, a handful of 3/4 inch brads and some glue in this thing. You're talking probably in the neighborhood of 20 bucks, so $40 for a pair of shutters. You've just saved over $200 on one window, and if you got a bunch of windows to do on your house, you can save thousands by building these yourselves. Now, a few things as I made this that I came across that I would do differently if I was doing it over or doing this for a client or myself. One, I just used some fence pickets I had on hand. If I was going to do these for my house, I would very carefully go through the fence picket pile there at the big box store and pick out the best of the best, and also color match them, because there's a lot of variety in those cedar fence pickets as far as color goes, and you don't want a mismatch of colors unless that's what you're going for. But you want to pick and choose your colors so they kind of match when you put this thing all together. This one ain't too bad, but these side stiles, I guess, or stiles rails, somebody put in the comments below which are which, because I know I'm getting it wrong. But anyway, these are a little darker, a little different color, more of a brown than the rest of it. No big deal. Again, I just used what I had on hand. That would be the biggest thing. Make sure you pick good boards, good straight boards, no cupping, and the right color for your project, and watch those knots on the edges as well. Man, what else? Honestly, everything else came together pretty good. Now, yeah, this is the bike. I did not sand or worry about the back too much, because obviously it would not show. I just have these cross pieces on there that would help with mounting. No hardware with that. But again, that price that I showed you at the big box store doesn't include any hardware either. So again, you're saving 200 bucks building a set of these yourself, at least a 5 by roughly 16 inch, 5 foot by roughly 16 inch wide shutters. So really cool. I may end up eventually making some of these for my house. I don't know if I'll do cedar or something different. Just depends on the eventual color scheme of my house. But I'm really happy with how these turned out. Definitely something you could add to your list of things you offer to your customers. You can certainly make a good profit on these based on, you know, what you see them listed for at the big box store. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was useful. If it was, please hit that subscribe button and a little notification bell so you never miss another one of our videos. And with that, I will see you guys on the next video.